Stamina balls, people. I enjoy that intro every single time I watch it. I would like all of you to join me today on a new series, which you might have already seen my intro video for, and it is called Collateral. And I'm here with someone you have all heard of before if you have watched my videos as new subscribers or old subscribers. He goes by many different names on Xbox Live, many different names on YouTube, and he is my partner in crime when it comes to this series known as Collateral. There has to be two if it's a Collateral, and I would like him to now introduce himself.
What's crack-a-lackin', guys? It's Braz Knuckles here. How y'all doing?
Alrighty, so this first video, I understand I don't want to get into too much detail until we go into detail within ourselves. So it's not going to really be set up as a question and answer because we're both here. The Braz Knuckles is not just participating as a guest, he is the other 50% of this series. So I would like to first start off by talking more about my history and with regards to gaming. I go as far back as the Sega Genesis. That was my very first console that I remember playing when I was, I don't know, 4 years old, 3 years old. My brother is 4 years older than myself, and I remember when my dad purchased it and brought it home, even though it was that long ago. I believe the first games I ever played was like some sort of basketball game. I want to say I played Sonic. Some weird game where the guy was made up of like spheres and stuff. I don't even remember what that one was. And also some sort of like Mortal Kombat, I believe. Those were like my very first games, and I basically went from that console into the handhelds. I had the Sega Genesis pretty much up until I got like a PlayStation 1 and then a PlayStation 2. I never got into the Nintendo line until they came out with the GameCube, and I loved a lot of the GameCube. I remember I was playing Ocean of Time or some cool game or some game like that. Star Ocean, I believe it was called. I don't even remember. And a lot of the Mario games, pretty much all the Nintendo classics I played. And then I basically jumped from that GameCube with at the same time as the PlayStation 2 and jumped into my Xbox. My very first Xbox, it was the original huge humongous fat one, and the same day that I bought it, I also ended up buying Halo 2, and that was like my very first Xbox game, and I ended up getting into that game and went competitive after like 8 months after owning it, playing like 8 hours a day of that game. So from that, I believe it was just straight into the Xbox 360, and that's my current system, and I do play a little bit of PC games. And I'm not sure, what is your history along the lines of Braz Knuckles?
Pretty much started back when I was like 3 or 4 when my mom she bought a Super Nintendo. That was my first home console. And I believe I played The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Some of you may have heard of that one. Yeah, pretty much played that all the time. Had some Pac-Man, some Mario thrown in there. And pretty much similar to you, went from my first home console to a Game Boy. When I got the original Pokemon games, Red, Blue, and Yellow, would pretty much play those all the time. Didn't really put those down at all. And then that's when I got my PlayStation 1 and Final Fantasy 7. That's the big one. And then from there, I believe I took a turn to PC. Started playing some real-time strategy games. Age of Empires 2, that was, God, I'd get home from school, play that for like 3 hours a day, just straight playing the computer. And then from there was my PS2, which I had for about 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And then after that, I got my first Xbox 360, back in 2006 when Gears first came out. That was the first game I got for it. And pretty much that's what I've been doing from then on. Just
And let me take you back a few seconds here. As far as Final Fantasy 7 goes, I hear you have how many hours like invested into that you can say like on your save files added up?
Oh God. Well, most of you probably don't know because I doubt you've played that much on one file. but the clock actually counts out at 99 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. So I actually do not know on my saves like how long I've played for Final Fantasy VII, but I can, yeah, ridiculous amount of hours. I don't know. I can say for Final Fantasy X though, on the PS2, one save I'd say is about 390 hours. And which little shameless plug here. I've got my original channel, Leonidas Rules, is pretty much chock full of all the monster arena bosses from Final Fantasy X, and I just take them all out one by one. Even got Nemesis on there, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you do bring up Final Fantasy, because I was huge on Final Fantasy VII, but it was more like along the lines of I loved watching that game much more than playing it. Also because of like how young I was at that time, and it just so happened that my older brother, it was more his game than mine. So I much watched it more than I played it until like Final Fantasy 10 came out, and 8, even 8 I played a ton, but I believe I watched that game much more. If I had to say a game that, besides Halo 2, because I literally was required to play that game about 6 hours a day when I was in a sponsored clan and would go to like tournaments and stuff like in high school and in middle school and everything like that. But with regards to my game that I probably spent the most time in, would have to be on PC, and it's Diablo 2, and then Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction expansion. I have literally still to this date played that game, which is now, I believe, I want to say 11 years to 12, almost going on 12 years old, that game.
Yep.
And I would play that game close to like probably about 40 hours a week. I would play that game 40 hours a week, and that's honest. And right now I have 8 accounts on that game, all the way back to my very first one, although it's sad to say I don't have my original characters because they expired and their names got taken, but I do have about 7 to 8 accounts, and every one of those accounts has full characters, so I don't necessarily play that game that much anymore, but I do get on just to keep my characters from expiring. But even with regards to that, there's a whole bunch of games as far as coming out between console, between PC, any sort of platform like that. There's a whole bunch of different games coming out 2012. I'm sure if any of you are subscribed to any sort of IGN Entertainment or XPlay, anything like that, you'll probably already see, an upcoming games of 2012 list. But I was just going to say a few that I'm actually really looking forward to. One, of course, is Diablo 3, which, they're kind of 12 years late on that, so I'm hoping to get into that game. Another one, which I'm still actually in the middle of, the predecessor, is Final Fantasy 13-2, because I love where they're going to go with that and all the different battle styles and stuff like that. That's just going to be an amazing game. And probably another one that I'm really looking forward to, even though I have not played either of the first 2, or at least I should say I have not owned them. I have played the first 2, but is Mass Effect 3. I think that's going to be a pretty sweet game. Are there like any games that you can think of off the top of your head that you're looking forward to for this coming year?
Yeah, I agree with you with Mass Effect 3. I do have the first one. I played a little bit of that, and it's very fun. I'm looking forward to Halo 4, which, oh man, the first Halo I played was 3, so I'm not like huge into the backstory, but I've done some research on it, so hopefully I think this one's gonna be more about the Forerunners than anything else. So, but what else is there? I think.
And with regards to Halo, you said you started on 3, and I actually remember that because I used to go over to your house almost every day and play it with you. But do you happen to own a copy of Halo 2? Or I know you've played it, haven't you? Or have you played the first one as well, possibly on the computer?
I played a little bit of the first one back when I was in the dorms. My roommate had it. He let me borrow it for a little bit, and a couple years ago, I played the second one probably like a quarter or a third into it, and yeah, I mean, I think I got like to win where you first see the flood. So
Okay, okay. And you do own Reach as well, right?
yeah, I do.
What are some of the games and stuff like? Because I know that there's a good probably half a dozen games that are like my go-to games whenever I have the time to play. Like which ones do you think would be yours, like your go-to games from any type?
I'd say Guitar Hero tops that list. Huge into Guitar Hero. I mean, we're both, I'd say, decent at the least.
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, Guitar Hero is probably the first one, and then I'd say a Final Fantasy. Any of them, it really doesn't matter. And then probably after that, like maybe a Pokemon game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like I currently have Guitar Hero 3 and World Tour. I never got any more than that, but that's really just because I really wanted. I just love Guitar Hero 3. Like that's probably gonna be one of my favorites. I haven't owned really any of the most recent ones, but with regards to Pokemon, I mean, I don't care what they say. Like to me, Pokemon is never gonna get old. Like that was my very first handheld was a Game Boy Pocket, and it was a red one, a red Game Boy Pocket, and I had Pokemon Red. And my brother, of course, got the blue Game Boy Pocket with Pokemon Blue. And I mean, I've had every single. I think I've owned every single Pokemon game, and I believe I can find them. And that's going from the Game Boy, like the big square cartridges, like for the Game Boy itself, into the Game Boy Advance with the Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and then into DS, where I think I have a copy of Diamond. I think I also have Platinum. I have like 2 copies of that. I have Heart Gold. I have Soul Silver, and I have Pokemon White. So I mean, I honestly, don't care if it's a good game. I don't care what it is. I know some people get bad rap for people over like 15 or 16 still playing Pokemon, but especially though when you get into the more competitive side of it, where you go more into it, when you actually look into building a team and that kind of thing. And I know that you and I might get into that even more later on in the upcoming years. But my go-to games are probably going to be. I know I have 2 series. One's almost over, and then another one I just recently started is the one that's almost over is Left 4 Dead 2, which is the zombie game, all that sort of thing. And there's only going to be a couple parts of that left. And the other one that I just recently started was the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. Absolutely love Metal Gear Solid. That was probably my very first own personal game that I had for the PlayStation 1 way back when. And I pretty much played each of them as they came out, except for like the PS3 exclusive one. But besides like the 2 that I'm currently Let's playing, it's probably got to be Gears of War 3, and I believe, Battlefield 3. Those are probably the 2 that I go to, besides like the whole Final Fantasy 13, because that one you really have to set some time out for it. You can't just get on for like 20 minutes because you're really not going to accomplish anything. That's just how all the Final Fantasy games are.
Yeah, I mean, RPGs usually
15 to 20 minutes.
are like.
So with regards to your like genres, like would you say what would you say would come first? I mean, like the music type games, RPGs, possible like MMOs, RTS, first person shooters. Like, what would you say would be like your like top maybe 2 genres?
Definitely RPG is my favorite genre of any game, any system. And I don't know. Right now it'd probably be FPS. Modern Warfare 3 just came out. I don't know. The second one usually flip-flops between RTS, music, rhythm, or FPS.
Yeah, I hear you. I was always huge way back when on like racing games, and I know a lot of people were, because they were much easier games to learn and to come by, and like many different games were like racing games, way back when. And then they started getting into like these next gen graphics every few years. And now it's probably going to be a like a shooter. I wouldn't say first person or like third person, because I love Gears of War 3 too, or Gears of War 3 as well. But I absolutely love RPGs. I love, especially when you can get down and customize like your character, and that kind of branches off into the MMO, because you can have like the PvP, but you can also have like the RPG style MMOs as well, where you can gather with a whole bunch of different friends and play like that. You and I actually just started playing Guild Wars 2 again. I played it way back when, but I stopped playing for a little while, took a little recess, hopped off the Guild Wars train. But in inspiration of Guild Wars Guild Wars 2, in inspiration of that one coming out, I went back and started playing Guild Wars with all those expansions and everything like that, and that's what we were playing. We just started creating characters and stuff like that, so those are definitely going to be my like go-to games. So I really, hope that everyone was able to get to know us a little more. It's going to be a lot less structured in future episodes. This was really just going to be an intro episode to where you can somewhat, understand and relate to where we're coming from and where we see topics. Because, in future episodes, we could get into anything from different forums that we go and visit regularly, maybe different updates for consoles, maybe into technology with regards to computers, more future games that are coming out, future like YouTube channels that we like to watch, videos, series, stuff like that. Maybe we might even do like an all-time top favorite, of games, like an all-time, like from any platform. Totally different stuff. It's going to be a lot less structured, but it's still going to be chock-block full of content. So I do hope you enjoy this. Of course, the Brass Knuckles channel will be in the description. He is going to, I believe, start posting videos sooner or later. Right now, on this channel, he doesn't currently have posted because he's had another channel up until now, which I will also include in the description. And he should also have this video as well. So, is there anything else you'd like to say to round this off, Brass Knuckles?
Pretty much. I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where this series goes with it. I hope it does as well as I think it might, just because we're not too biased. We're not, this one greater than this one or anything like that. So before this gets way too long, I hope you enjoyed it once again. Please remember to rate. You have no idea how much I enjoy that. And even more if you can remember to comment. Possibly some advice, criticism, positive or negative. I absolutely love either or. And once again, make sure to check out the Brass Knuckles. And that is going to be the end of this. So you can say the farewell, Brass Knuckles.
Alright, hope everyone has a good new year. Let's talk to you guys later.
Peace.